discarded every rabbi who ever weighed in on the subject, every human opinion, every popular social institution, and went right back to what? Scripture. What did Moses say? Moses, who wrote the Pentateuch. Well, they said Moses permitted a man to write a certificate of divorce and send her away. But Jesus said to them, because of your hardness of heart, he wrote you this commandment. But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate. This is just a recitation of exactly what it says in Genesis. And there are 4 reasons why God hates divorce. 4 reasons why God hates divorce. Number 1, verse 6, from the beginning of creation. Genesis 1:27, God made them a male and a female. Did you forget Genesis 1:27? Did you forget Adam and Eve? And the text is emphatic, a female, a male, for the purpose of marriage. Now, what's important about that is there is no provision for polygamy. There isn't Adam and Eve and Sally and Alice. And there is no provision for divorce because there are not a few single women hanging around as options or alternatives. In the order of creation, there was one man and one woman. There are no spare parts. There are no spare people. They were created for each other and for no one else. Their union was complete. Their union was unique. And they are a pattern for all to follow. Every marriage is no less an indissoluble union between one man and one woman. The second reason. First is because of what marriage is, one man, one woman. Second is because of the strength of the union. Verse 7, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother. And Matthew adds, and shall cling to his wife. This is Genesis 2:24. This is the God-ordained view of marriage. It is an independent, strong union. You leave father and mother. You break the prior family bond. You cling or cleave to your wife. The idea of that word is glue. Glue. You are literally stuck together. It is not a arm's length relationship. It is not a look and see trial. You are glued together. And it also, that word carries the idea, cleaving, carries the idea of pursuing hard after. It is two people unbreakably connected together, glued together, and pursuing hard after each other. To be united in mind and will and spirit and body and emotion. The Jewish term for marriage is kiddushin. It means sanctification or consecration. Both of those words mean something completely set apart for special use. It was used to describe something dedicated to God as His exclusive possession, His personal possession. Marriage is an indissoluble union in which people are in an unbreakable gluing together, and together they pursue one heart, one mind, one will in everything. The third reason God hates divorce is because they become one flesh. Verse 8, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. This takes the idea of leaving your family and cleaving to its extreme. You can't divide one. One is the indivisible number. One is the indivisible number. That oneness, that indivisibility is seen in the product of those two, isn't it? Children. The child is the one that comes out of the two. And then there's a final reason why God hates divorce, and that is because marriage is His own work. Marriage is His own work. In one of the most surprising statements on the subject, verse 9, Jesus says this, "What, therefore, God has joined together, let no man separate." That is a very interesting statement. Marriage is a work of God. We're not talking about Christian marriage. We're just talking about marriage. Marriage is a work of God. Not only as an institution, but every marriage is a work of God. Because within the purpose of God's sovereign plan, the life that comes out of that union has been foreordained unto divine ends. Every marriage is an act of God by which He bestows upon a man and a woman the common grace of marriage and children. It's an act of God. So, you certainly don't want to put asunder, separate what God has joined together. And to put it simply, don't break up your marriage, and don't break up somebody else's marriage either, or you are rending a specific union of God. Every marriage. It was God who made the union possible. It was God who issued the command, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth." It was God who said, "It's not good for a man to be alone, I'll make a help for him." Every marriage is God putting a man and a woman together. It doesn't go for living together, living in fornication. Now, who wants to undo a work of God? This is a strong testimony to the permanent union of marriage. I hate divorce. Now, though Jesus stops at this point in discussing the Old Testament view of marriage, I want to further confirm what He said by drawing a couple of Old Testament scriptures to your mind. So sacred is marriage in the Old Testament that any violation called for death. 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 Exodus 20:14, thou shalt not commit adultery, right? Seventh commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery.